can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, what a show. What a show. Scotty, Braun, Erik, Kratz, and officially the newest member of the FT fam, Cameron Maybin. And if you're listening to the podcast right now, well, you missed the new show opened, which features Cam running down fly balls in the outfield. Cam, welcome to the FT fam. And we've had you on before, but officially a member of the FT fam. You're going to see more Cam. More Cam.
Man,
more Cam.
it is nice to be a part of the fam. I already felt like we were distant cousins, but now I feel like you guys adopted me, and I'm excited to be a part of the family, man. I cannot wait.
Easy on the adopted
awesome.
you part. Like, look, you still got to do good, okay?
You adopted me a long time ago, bud. You adopted me a long time ago. It's okay.
I did. When you're in the bushes with somebody, you become de facto brothers.
Let me tell you a little bit about Kratzy. One thing about Kratzy, he's definitely a guy you have to earn his respect. He's not one of those guys where, hey, this Cam's this good. This dude's a good guy. Kratzy's that guy. Like, let me see for myself how this guy is, and that's the vibe, man. He's a tough guy to win over, but he adopted me a long time ago, so I'm good.
Is this true, Kratz? Are you difficult to win over?
Yeah. Why should I? Why should I?
Well, I don't know. I've known you. I feel like I've known you for a while, so I just don't remember our early days.
Should I automatically like Scott because he has smashing hair and tremendous biceps? No, I shouldn't. Just because Mark tells me you're a good guy doesn't mean, like, I got to make my own decisions up. I'm my own man.
And that's his gift right there, Scott. He can give you a compliment, but he does it with a scowl, so you don't really know if it's a compliment. So I think that's the part you got to get by, that little hard shell. But once you break that shell open, I mean, he's a sweetheart. Let's be honest.
He is. He really is. Yeah, if you're playing on the other side, you're like, does he really like me? Is he kidding? Is he kind of making fun of me? Yeah.
He's a don't touch my shin guards catcher. Hey, what are you doing?
But you want him on your side in a brawl, so let's charge your damn mound, shall we?
That's it.
Charging the mound.
Is David Robertson the best high leverage reliever ever? Back-to-back nights, 8th inning. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani. Punch out, punch out, punch out. Are you kidding me? So he does this in the 3-1 win last night for Texas, a Rangers team that needs the dubs more than the Dodgers do. The Dodgers are not the perfect team. Newsflash for the people that were complaining in the offseason that we don't need to play the season out. We definitely need to play the season out. But when you have the three best hitters, and technically, yes, it's Betts, Ohtani, and then Freddie going back to back to back, it is rare to get all three out. It is more rare to get all three out via punch out, and that's what D-Rob did. So Kratz, props to him. He's been doing it for a long time, and this was part of why the Rangers were good last year and won the World Series eventually. There were questions about their bullpen for most of the season. A lot of those questions were answered. David Robertson is a nice pickup for them this past offseason. They figured that you're going to have some turnover. Some dudes that you worked hard into October last year might not look the same. Robertson's been a rock for them.
Absolutely, he has. To do what he did back-to-back nights is, and maybe I'll get to my conspiracy theory at some point, why a team wouldn't do this, but he's not at that level yet. I'll explain it later. But, like, he is a super, super educated, watching the game, scout and report kind of guy. D-Rob has been on a lot of teams. He has had a lot of success, and it's because he knows where to go with certain guys. He's not going to be like, you know what? My stuff just doesn't necessarily play against this guy. He's like, well, I know I have to be able to get that fastball in. I know it's a cutter, but it's his fastball. It's his four-seam fastball into Mookie. He's like, I remember this from 2016 when he was on the Red Sox. He is that guy that knows that stuff. And then the curveball, the slider thing that he threw to Freddie to get him out, it's another, like, who's going to be able to throw that pitch in that location? And D-Rob's a guy that can do that. And to me, that's why he can have success on back-to-back nights against those three dudes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Kratzy. And I think we need to give a lot of credit to to Bruce Bochy, that staff, that organization for still believing in the veteran reliever, the guy that does have experience, that does relish those moments. I mean, you saw moxie, you saw poise. And what I love about D-Rob the most is that he looks forward to those moments, and he does a great job of not only executing with precision, but he does a great job of setting hitters up. He gives you the same looks on tunnels, the same pitches, even the way he bounces that curveball out in front of the plate. This guy was a huge pickup for them. And you talk about right now needing big wins for the Rangers. This is a guy that you are thankful that you went out and you got, because he's the guy, like you say, on back-to-back nights, and he probably is good to go because he also knows how to prepare his body for this time of the season. So I think what you saw him do, it wasn't a fluke. He's been doing it for a long time, and it's good to see teams still value the veteran guys who've done it.
He's 39 years old. It's a statement series for Texas, and Bochy moves into 9th all-time in managerial wins after that dub, but they take the series. I mean, they got smacked around. What was it, 15-2 in game one, and then they win 2 close ones, 3-2 and 3-1 over LA, and Texas needs to get going. But really for them, they just need to tread water. I mean, that's what a lot of teams do now in this new playoff system. We talk about a team almost every year that's hanging around the 500 mark, and then they go on a run in August. And for Texas, they already are coming off a World Series win. They have a bunch of dudes coming off the injured list at some point for their starting rotation. You know that they're probably going to add at the trade deadline unless they completely fall apart over the next few weeks. So statement series, and they've got a dude with some conspiracy theory on him too. So Kratz, what the heck's going on?
My conspiracy theory is, what if Mookie Betts strikes out right there and charges the mound on D-Rob? Do they throw D-Rob out? I'm just saying, look, he punched us out yesterday. I know my 2 guys don't have a chance. Let's get this guy out of the game. Why would we not? Because you got to keep your team afloat, and you're a sinking ship when you have a guy like that on the mound and you have runners in scoring position and you can't score them in back-to-back nights.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I heard a stat. It was something crazy, like runners in scoring position since the 70s. You talk about Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Ohtani are like top 3 in the game, right? Like in the history of the sport. And then to not even put the ball in play was so surprising to see. But it lets you know, man, this game is difficult, and you don't play it on paper. You still got to go out and get the job done. And shout out to the D-Rob again. I'm always rooting for the veteran guys getting it done. We need to see more of it.
You calling him old? You calling D-Rob
30,
old?
Man, 39, listen, that's good and old right there. That's like a quality control coach age right there. You know what I mean?
Hey, second best Cavs in the game, by the way. Second best.
And I want to say his 15th hold of the year, or I think 14 holds on the season. So, dude's been doing it.
All right, let's not beat around the boat for a sec. That was terrible. Cheers, Kratz. Yes, I'm on a boat doing the show today. I didn't mention it at the top, but I am in parts known in Greece, somewhere in the waters off of Santorini, and showing my
flippy
commitment.
floppies. You got the flippy. You got to have flip flops on right now.
Mm-hmm.
No. I'm learning a lot. Okay,
this
is
right.
yacht life. You are not allowed to wear shoes on the boat. Wear it down. No shoes. Everyone's barefoot the whole time. And I got a pedicure on the boat.
Stop it.
Oh, that's the good life.
Stop it. Cam,
I got a pedicure.
Have you ever gotten a pedicure, Cam?
Haircut.
I have gotten a pedicure before, but never on a yacht in Greece.
Wow. What's wrong with a pedicure? I don't get them regularly. They said they had a lot of work to do.
Kratzy's a caveman. Go with your wife. Get you a petty. And
hey, true story. I have gotten one pedicure in my life. They didn't paint my nails or nothing like that, but they did the foot massage, and they cleaned up my nails and everything. And it was on Bob Nutting's bill. We went to Seven Springs out near Pittsburgh, and Bob Nutting paid for the whole weekend. It was over the All-Star break. Clearly, I didn't make any All-Star teams, but paid for everything, all the food, drink, stay, spa treatments. She's like, "You've never gotten a pedicure?" I'm like, "Did they massage your feet?" Because my feet were barking. My feet were barking during that time, and I was like, "Yeah, they give a good foot massage. I'm in." So that was my one pedicure. It's not on a boat, but
okay, I got it. I understand now. So what we need to do is someone needs to get the message to Bob Nutting and tell him that pedicures are really like free agents, and you just have to pay for them.
I like that. I like that.
All right, let's preview some games for tonight. Thanks to SeatGeek, the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. They've got you covered for all your baseball ticket needs. We like to really dive deep on a Friday because you don't have us on the weekend. You do have fresh podcasts if you don't catch all of the shows. So those always get released on the audio side, but we'll be back on Monday. So do we have anything in particular that we would like to circle aside from Pittsburgh's TBD against Feltner in Colorado? I'm kidding. But can we talk about your? I know. Well, that's a stolen joke from the production meeting. But Kratz, are you like just sitting there? Can't wait. Your excitement is like all over, and you're just like ready to burst and go. Phillies Orioles. Oh my gosh! It's the series of the weekend. It's the real World Series preview.
It is. It was my, it wasn't my pick, but man, if I have a second pick, it's Phillies Orioles. Like, you got Bradish, who's rounding into, after coming off the IL, rounding into who Kyle Bradish is, just whatever, 2.5-ish ERA, punching tickets. Ranger Suarez, the Gold Glove candidate on the mound, and currently the number one odds-on favorite on BetMGM to win the Cy Young, who is just ahead of his teammate Zach Wheeler, and number 2, who is just ahead of their other teammate to win the Cy Young, Aaron Nola. Top 3 are all on the Phillies rotation. And Ranger going into Baltimore, it's going to be a tough matchup. The Orioles, especially Adley Rutschman, smacks lefties. But Ranger figures out a way to just keep soft contact in the infield, in the yard. It's going to be awesome. The whole series is going to be unbelievable. I heard it's already sold out.
Yeah, this is going to be a big one, especially you talk about two teams coming off of L's, right? I mean, Baltimore, got beat by Atlanta yesterday, and Phillies lost a tough one as well. Nola came out. He didn't like himself. So it's going to be an interesting series to see if Ranger Suarez can get the Phillies, I want to say back on track because they've been on track, but it's going to be a real test doing it on the road at home. Like you said, Kyle Bradish really coming into form right now. That Baltimore lineup is deep. I mean, everything they do is quality from defense, offense. They know how to manufacture runs. So I know they'll be excited to get back home. And that energy at home has been crazy this year in Baltimore. Last year we looked at it and we wondered, was this just a miracle season for the Baltimore Orioles? Well, I think the season prior to that, 2022, the writing was kind of starting to, put itself on the wall. And this isn't a fluke. This team is here to stay. They have tons of depth. When you talk about, on the bench, in AAA, tons of guys. So I'm eager to see what they continue to do. I think they'll go out and try to make some moves and continue to try to shore up that bullpen. But, we talk about Bradish. Irving has been nasty as well. So it's going to be a fun series to watch. I'm eager to see if Kyle Schwarber can stay hot. So it's going to be a fun series, exciting series. I think the bats are going to come to play a little bit more than we may realize. So I'm looking forward to this one.
And there you go. Wheeler versus Burns on Father's Day. And Matt Gelb tweeting all 3 sold out this weekend. That's what he's hearing. So you'll have to go to the secondary ticket market. And that's SeatGeek for you with over 28 million downloads. Number 1 rated ticketing app. And SeatGeek has your tickets to every game. Of course, concerts, festivals, the whole deal. Let me ask you another question about this series. Which premier weekend series do you think is a more likely indicator of the World Series this coming season? Phillies, Orioles, Yankees, Dodgers.
I'm gonna roll with the Yankees Dodgers series right now. It's tough to say that when you talk about pitching, because pitching depth is huge when you talk about playoffs. When you're talking about needing really only 3 guys, and the Phillies, their starting rotation depth is exactly what it needs to be. And Baltimore as well. I mean, depth from top to bottom. But right now, I feel like as far as the Yankees goes, it feels different. Their energy feels different. The confidence feels different. They're playing with a looseness. I think in the past, I think if you look at the Yankees and it seems somewhat stiff. It doesn't seem like a fun brand of baseball, even when they're winning. They seem like they're having fun now. It seems like a special story. And then when you look at LA, we know LA's going to go out and continue to try to do something to try to continue to get better. They went out and got Kevin Biggio. His versatility speaks for itself. I think they're going to try to go out and maybe get another outfielder. I think that series, kind of for me is the one. And I think the Dodgers have a very bitter taste in their mouth after last year and getting punched in the mouth versus the Diamondbacks. So for me, I'm going to go with that series as the World Series preview.
Well, the World Series is going to be Yankees and Phillies, just like I predicted to start the year. So I'm going to take the other side. The Orioles are playing. To me, the Orioles' weakness, besides a solidified closer for the postseason, is what happens if something happens to their top three guys. If you look at the Phillies, they have five guys shoot. Spencer Turnbull's in the bullpen. Taijuan Walker is throwing well, so he's their fifth guy. Turnbull was lights out, and if anything happens, he can step in. They essentially have six quality starters, and all we ever talk about on this show is injuries suck, injury depth. What's their depth? There's no team that has better pitching depth because that kind of stuff is going to be tested. And to me, there's a better chance of a Phillies-Orioles series than a Yankees-Dodgers series.
There you go. I like that. Expected. Also, Kratz has the Phils winning the World Series. So we'll see what happens.
It's hard to disagree when you talk about that. Like you said, that starting staff and that bullpen, and he built that team for October. Get you through the season. If you win the division, fine, but we know they'll be in a wild card. He built this team for October, so it's hard for me to disagree with that pick.
So let's talk SeatGeek for 20 seconds more, and then we'll get our first guest ready to go. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. SeatGeek's the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. And again, big weekend series going on. Hit up the website. They also help you out with where the value is in terms of price and seat, with the green being good, red being bad, and FT's got your back. The code is FOUL, F-O-U-L, for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. Even if you do not plan on going to a game this weekend, you can still load up that code and then have it ready to go. $20 off your first purchase. Promo code is FOUL. Click the link in the description to download the app if you are listening to the pod. And if not, I will drop it in the chat. And we are going to continue to talk about that conversation right now with our next guest as we get hyped for Phillies and Orioles this weekend. I feel like we're going to get respect for this too, because as cool as Yankees Dodgers was last weekend, you do get some of the haters who are like, you're overhyping this series. You're talking too much about New York and LA. Not to us. I'm just saying in general, in the baseball world, right? Like there's other teams playing well. It's not just about those top two markets in terms of their audience. Okay, cool. Well, we're spending a lot of time on these two. So let's bring in our next guest. And he is also the Perfect Game Spotlight of the week. It's Grayson Rodriguez. We'll get to some PG talk soon. There he is in the car. Where are you heading right now? Are you on the way to the ballpark?
So I'm coming back from getting a haircut and ran into some traffic before I got home. So I had to pull off into the Chick-fil-A parking lot to be able to talk to you guys. So here I am.
There you go. Well, we appreciate that, dude. And yes, I'll mention to the podcast crowd, Grayson is pulled over and being very responsible as we chat here for 10, 15 minutes. So, dude, are you excited for this series? And do you feel the same way? Like, hey, Yankees Dodgers was cool, but this should have just as much national attention.
Oh, yeah, dude. I think this is something that we've had circled on our calendar for a while. Obviously, Phillies, really exciting team. I like to put our O's in the same category as them, just young, exciting, lots of talent, a lot of vibrant colors out there on the field. So I think we've been ready for this one for a while.
Hey
And what are
Grayson,
the? Oh, go ahead.
Cam Maybin here. Real quick, man. Did you not like the haircut? You threw the hat straight on. I mean, you went haircut straight. I'm just curious, man. We want to see the nice cut.
Look, here we
Okay,
go.
yeah,
Oh,
there it is,
Fresh,
clean. You
fresh.
got to show that thing out. So I've picked you for a future Cy Young. I think your stuff is amazing. I think your poise is right where it needs to be, and I think your maturation process has been great. I want to ask you, when you first came up, I thought, seeing you following your career, your stuff is electric. When you went back down, and I'm curious to know, was it more so just going down there and working on just attacking in the zone and getting back to pitching off your fastball? Because when you do that, man, I think you are as dominant as anybody we've seen in the game. And I just wanted to ask you, what did you go focus on? Because I feel like it wasn't a lot, and it was just more so getting back in the zone.
Well, first off, I appreciate that very much. That's a huge compliment coming from you. So, but no, really just last year when the season started in spring training, didn't really have my stuff and got called up because Kyle Bradish got hit on the foot. Went on the injured list there for a little bit and really just wasn't in the strike zone. My changeup, one of my best off-speed pitches, I just didn't have the hang of it. And that's a big part of my game. And, getting sent down, going back down to AAA, being able to get the heater back in the zone consistently, lost command there for a little bit. And, ever since getting the command back and the off-speed pitch is feeling good, it's felt more like myself. And I think that's really helped me in the big leagues a lot.
all right. We talked about how much you talk smack and all that stuff. We talked about how your teammate hits a dinger off you, an absolute bomb in spring training, and he has bragging rights. Okay. Do you, coming into a series like this, is there a little more chirping from the dugout, from you or from your side?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Our dugout, we have so many young guys in the dugout. We like to joke around and say that it's like a high school atmosphere. We definitely do our fair share of chirping from the dugout. And, I'm sure there's some guys that like it on the other team and some guys that, that aren't a fan of it. But, we're having fun. I think that's what all that matters. And you look at the kids playing the game, and they go to a big league game. Sometimes they think it's boring, and we want it to seem fun and, a good atmosphere. And I think there will definitely be a lot of chirping going on this weekend. Like I said, it's a big series, and, we've been looking forward to it for a while.
Who chirps the most? Because I heard you chirp the most towards your teammates, but who chirps the most? Because, I mean, you seem a little scared of the Phillies coming in this series. I can see it on your face. That's why you got a haircut, because you didn't feel confident going into this series, so you needed something to lift your confidence, and a haircut always lifts everybody's confidence.
Hey, a new haircut's good for an extra, 2 or 3 strikeouts. So, so we're going to look for that tomorrow. But no, definitely the starters bench. The starters kind of stay together in the dugout. A lot of noise comes from that bench. And we're proud of that. And I think Kyle Bradish, could be one of the big ones. Dean Kramer as well. We had Kyle Gibson with us last year, who's now with the Cardinals, and he taught us a lot of chirps and stuff, and we kind of keep that going. James McCann, who when he's not catching that night, James McCann's with us on the starter bench, and
Yes, sir.
he's a good one. He's a good one for sure. He can yell some stuff, kind of getting some guys' heads a little bit.
Hey, James is a sneaky trash talker, but I want to talk to you about leadership, man. And you guys seem to have such a loose group, a confident group. Can you talk about how much fun it's been to, play for Brandon Hyde and then the confidence that he gives you guys? I had him in the minor leagues, and he's the type of guy, he's a player's manager. Can you talk about just how special he's been to a group and that's been through some ups and downs, and now he has a group that's in the fight every single night? How does that feel you guys to show up to the park every single day and want to go to bat for a guy like that?
Yeah, he's an awesome manager. I think that that he just lets guys, do their own thing. Like, he lets their personality shows. He wants us to have fun, and guys can be their own, that we can be our own person. And, as long as we're playing good baseball, they're really not going to say anything to us about that. We'd love to have fun. And he's he's all for that. And I think to have a manager that wants you to have fun, I think it's pretty special, obviously, for a player, because you can show up to the ballpark. Stress levels are pretty low. Just knowing that you can go out there and play a game. I mean, that's what baseball is a game. And we have a lot of young guys. Like I said, we go out there and it's almost like we play like we're still in high school. And I think that's a big thing, and it starts with Hyder as the manager.
How soon do you guys start scoreboard watching? Because you're 2.5 behind the Yankees. How soon do you start scoreboard watching? Because right now, to me, you guys are the marquee series, and yet Boston and the Yankees are playing right now. So how much do you look up and see? Hey, what did they do? Oh, dang it! They're beating the Royals 8-0. I guess we got to win this game.
Yeah. I don't think it happens as much, especially this time of year. Now, go back to like last year when we were in September and we had the race with the Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays. We did a lot of scoreboard watching there in the end of September. But like right now, it's just really early. It's early in the season. Last year Tampa Bay was up a lot of games on us, so we really weren't paying attention to that too much. So I think we're kind of taking the same approach this year. Is just really, not worrying about it in June. Obviously, yeah. I mean, you can see the out of town scoreboard, and you're always curious to see what the Yankees are doing that night. But yeah, I mean, really, there's not much we can do right now other than just go out there and try to keep winning games and put ourselves in a good spot for September.
Who do you mimic your game after? Is there somebody that you watch like video and you're like, oh, he attacked this guy this way? I want to attack this guy. Oh, I want to see if this guy faced this lineup. And if it's not, if you don't have somebody, who is like, why do you not have somebody?
I think it changes a lot, in terms of like looking at opposing lineups. So like obviously watching tape of the Phillies, really just kind of seeing different guys, how they've pitched to them this year. But in terms of like somebody I watched growing up, Clemens, Pettit, Oswalt, some of those Astros, seeing some of the Rangers guys as well, Cliff Lee there towards the end of his career. Some of those guys I like watching. But man, really just kind of guys that really attack the zone with fastballs, because that's really all I'm trying to do. Trying to get early contact, and then if I find myself with 2 strikes, then trying to get the punch out. But really just trying to be efficient and, attack these hitters.
There was a stat that your first 32 starts here in the big leagues, you know what first pitch you've thrown every single start? And does that stat, since it's out there, and now I'm putting it out there, does that stat get in your head? Do you think hitters think about the fact that you've thrown a first pitch fastball in every one of your starts?
Yeah. I was talking to Kyle Bradish about this a couple days ago. I asked him, have you ever thrown anything but a fastball to start the game? And I think he said he threw a slider to start the game one time. And then I was like, I don't think I've ever thrown an off-speed pitch to start the game. And so, yeah, I mean, we're gonna let the four-seamer rip. Game, I think you're seeing a lot more of the leadoff hitters ambush the first pitch, which I can see a lot this season with Gunnar Henderson. We play this little game where we call a homer, and you put your hat on the dugout rail, and I've won the game a few times with his leadoff homers. So obviously Schwarber, who I expect to be in the leadoff spot for the Phillies, he's hit a few as well. And yeah, I mean, really, there's no get me over fastball anymore. I think you've got to be be a little cautious from the very first pitch. And that's kind of what I'm going to keep doing.
Grayson, would it feel weird?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Cam.
My bad, Scott. I want to ask him real quick, because he talked about a lot of little games they play, and I just always want to know, who's the most competitive guy in the clubhouse? Like, who's the guy who literally always wants to bet? It's always a competition. Who's that guy?
That would have to be Mr. Craig Kimbrell. That guy, we always laugh about it, but if he's just doing something, he could be sitting at his locker, I don't know, reading a book or something, and it's like, hey, Craig, I'm going to beat you playing pool. because we got a pool table in the clubhouse. He will stop what he's doing, and put that all aside just because you said that you think you can beat him. So now he's going to put all of his attention on, the task at hand. Like I said, whether that's playing pool or tic-tac-toe. I mean, this dude is a competitor. I can definitely see why he's been so elite as a closer, at his role for a really long time, because he's determined and he's got a pretty thick skull. That's for sure.
Hey, Grayson, let's finish with a question or two about Perfect Game. I mean, we have you on every few weeks here, but just wanted to mix in how your youth experience helped you grow into who you are now.
Yeah, obviously started doing the Perfect Game showcases in high school when I was a freshman. Actually, going into my freshman year of high school, I went to time they had it in Lake Point, Georgia, or the Lake Point fields. Yeah, just kind of growing up, going to those tournaments, seeing the elite competition that was there. Obviously, when you're playing travel ball when you're younger, you're not seeing a lot of the competition from other states or other parts of the country, and I think Perfect Game was able to do that. Being able to see the best in the country for your age level, and like I said, it gave me a lot of experience. Obviously, showcases are important to young kids nowadays, whether you're trying to get a college scholarship or trying to get drafted professionally. And being able to play against that top tier talent, I think, really benefited me as a high school player.
PG profile had you as a first baseman and pitcher. Can you still swing it?
We like to joke about that. I don't know if the Orioles don't let the pitchers pick up any bats. Obviously, one being in the American League, no, ever. And ever since we did away with both leagues went to the DH, kind of eliminates that. But yeah, my dad was a outfielder at a small college in Texas when when he was playing, and so we were always in the batting cage first. Pitching was always something that came second, and I really didn't know I was going to be a pitcher until my junior year of high school, senior year of high school, when I really started to throw hard and started to get the professional looks, and that was kind of when I knew that the pitching overtook the hitting. But yeah, I hit a lot of high school bombs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good to know, just in case you're ever in a situation. But Grayson, awesome to talk to you, man. Yeah, you never know. Great catching up. Have an awesome weekend. Good luck. Go get him. We're excited to watch, and we'll catch you soon, okay?
Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all having me on.
Same here. Thank you. Grayson Rodriguez, Baltimore Orioles starter, part of the big Phillies-Orioles weekend that's coming up that we'll all be watching. And also that was your Perfect Game Spotlight, powered by Magnus, the center of data. Get yourself a Yak Attack, which includes baseball cloud and softball cloud information. And for more info on everything that Magnus brings to the table, you can check out some of the previous clips that we have with Johnny Gomes, who joins us every single week. Woo, we're coming in hot today. So this has become one of the more popular segments. I don't think we've had Cam on for one of them, but Ump Show is kind of like a twice a week-ish thing these days. So let's cue it up.
Steer right.
Eventually, we might have to be like, hey, nice guy that doesn't really usually get in people's faces or say anything bad. You're out of the game, because that's what's been going on lately. This has Nico Horner vibes to it, which was, I think, last week's big Ump Show segment. So, Cam, I'm going to let you lead off and tell me why you think Lane Thomas should have been ejected from this Nats game as he struck out looking on a 2-2 pitch. Does this look like enough to you? Because they also were able to listen to it, right? I guess that's the big part of this.
Yeah, well, growing up, I was always told that body language speaks louder than the words. So I guess the umpire is a great reader of body language. I mean, that was one of the worst I've ever seen. And it just continues to get worse and worse for the umpires this season. I mean, it seems like, and I tweeted this last night, this might be one of the worst years yet for the umpires. It's just balls and strikes, decision-making calls right here. I mean, at what point, and Kratz knows, I mean, you have to have much thicker skin than that. And we've heard some dudes go way, way below the belt, way beyond that realm, and still somehow stick around in games. And you talk about a guy like understanding and reading the room, like knowing the guys that's on the field, not having an umpire, but even as players, right? I know there's only 4 guys on the field, but our job is to know these guys' name and kind of have a feel and how they call balls and strikes and what they like to do, a tendency. Well, you also, as an umpire, should kind of know, what players are short-tempered, what players are good guys. And if you know, Lane Thomas is probably one of the nicest guys in the entire game. So for this to happen, it's ridiculous. It's embarrassing for the umpires. And it's just another moment that we'll look back and say umpires were really struggling this season.
I don't know anybody named Lane that has ever done anything. And Lane Thomas, he did say something right away when the pitch came, when it was called. But man, did the umpire feel like he was showing up? I don't know. You see him drop his bat right there, and he's like, "What? What did I say?" He said something right there, and then he's like, "What?" To me, it's all about the reaction after he throws you out. I mean, it is quick. That is quick. Did the umpire not know that? Yeah, and now he's trying to plead his case, and he's like, "No, that's what you said." He's like, "Well, that's what I heard. Yep, that's what I heard you say." And it was like
He didn't say anything.
He didn't say anything. That's what I mean. And it looked like he was sitting there going, "You did. I heard it." Or
I mean, and
whatever
even if he did say and even if he did say something, his lips moved where it couldn't have been more than a word or two at the most. Are you kidding me? Or are you serious? They always used to tell us, Scott, that you can never say you, right? Always avoid you. Yeah, I mean, you can.
I learned
you can
that
say
lesson.
You can say a lot in the game, but you is like the cardinal sin. Don't say you. Don't point at a guy. Don't draw a line. I mean, so unless it was something earlier in the game that premeditated this, maybe it was a call that we missed where maybe Lane had some words. Who knows? But for him to throw him out on literally maybe just giving "Are you kidding me?" or whatever it may have been, that was utterly ridiculous.
I'll give you a couple quotes, okay? So Kevin Franzen was on the broadcast, friend of FT. He's been on multiple times. He said, "We literally have video and voice audio. Lane never said anything. That's just bad. That makes me even more mad because later on, they were saying that's just a bad job by Emil. Did I say that right? Kratz? Emil Jimenez. He said, this is Franny. Look, he called it a strike, and he said he directed something at him with a bad word. Lane doesn't say that word, so we have a liar." And I give a ton of credit to the Nats broadcast for calling a spade and saying, "Hey, dude, you effed up. You need to take that crap back. You can, obviously. You booted him from the game, but you're accusing someone of saying something, and I don't know where that comes from. How do you not hear a word coming from a dude who's 2 feet away from you? I don't have the best hearing, but I would hear that."
Regardless, there has to be a conversation. Kratzy knows. At the end of the day, guy makes a bad call, you disagree. There's always a moment in time where you have, 5 to 10 seconds where, there's a moment for a conversation. "Hey, Emil, that ball's down." And he didn't even give him time to even really question the call other than literally looking back. So for me, that was it wasn't justified. It's a bad look. And I'm, like you said, Scott, I'm glad Franson called out the umpires because, in the past, and even as announcers, I get it, right? We want to protect the game. And we've seen a lot of umpires, we try to protect, a lot of announcers try to protect umpires. Well, there's no reason to protect them right now, right? Like you said, call a spade, call it like you see it, and there needs to be some accountability. And I still would love to see umpires have press conferences after the game. I really would. We have to do it. We have to sit there. We have to take accountability. Well, too often they have their handprint on the game where they should have to sit there on the podium and have to hear and have to answer questions just like the players do and the managers.
Yeah, I mean, there's great comments right now. One from Duffy saying umps need earplugs or headphones. And some people just saying they feel like umps are getting soft. Maybe we're not helping the cause because we're bringing it out, but it's about accountability on FT. So when you mess up, you mess up. When you do a great job and you have an awesome ump scorecard, I'll always mention it. We'll call it out. Angel Hernandez retired to be an FTL analyst. Nice referee. And then also there was one other good one that I liked. I think Dolk put it in there. Oh, maybe the ump is telepathic. That is the only explanation that I can think of that actually makes sense, right? Because if they have proof that you didn't say anything on video and audio, the only correct answer is, I saw that. I saw that in your head. That was coming out. So I'm preventative. It's called preventative ejections. Okay. Anyway, let's move to a play now. Controversial play. Now, in Kansas City, we also had one of the nicest humans in baseball get booted from his first game of the year, and that's manager Matt Quatraro. He is so freaking nice, and he was the same dude last year when the Royals were terrible as he is this year. Calm and easygoing, and that's his style, and we're watching him right now pop off. And Kratz, I don't know if you've spent any time with him. My guess is yes, right, from the Rays days, or did you see him when you were in KC? But it was over this play from Bobby Witt. He slides into second. It looks like the base is being blocked. We're trying to prevent that this year with the left foot in front. So what do you think?
I mean, yeah, I spent time with both. I had also, when he was a coach with at the time it was the Indians when I played for him. Then he went to the Rays, had him as a coach when he was there, when he was the bench coach there with the Rays. And then I just saw him 3 or 4 weeks ago when I went out to KC. He is so mild-mannered. For him to get this pissed, one, he's worried that his superstar Bobby Witt could get hurt on that play. And two, why is that call not being made? Why is that call of blocking the base, which is clearly what happened? His hand slid into his foot before he was tagged out. He's blocking the base, should be safe. But also, I'm thinking Q is very measured with what he does. The Royals, maybe they didn't quite have enough life for him. They didn't win the first 2 games of this series. They're up 2-0. They're in that game. They're facing a legit lineup in the Yankees. Maybe it was his turn to be like, okay, I'm pissed about this, but I'm getting really pissed to make sure the boys stay fired up.
I think Kratzy might be telepathic because he was all in my head just now. I'm telling you, that's. I mean, right here, man. So of course, I think it's obvious. I think a couple parts to it. I think one, I think as baseball people, I think we do appreciate a lot of the rule changes, but in a sense, we still like to see the game be played the game, right? This has been a part of it for a long time, and I get it, right? Trying to, advocate for player safety, and that's a safety measurement. But this was a part of baseball, right? And for me, I think this is one of those things where it's like, hey, we made up this. You brought this rule into play. It's clear, obvious that this guy blocked the bag. Volpe put his foot in front of the bag, blocked the bag, which used to be a good, savvy baseball play. But now here we are not addressing it, not calling it like we see against a Yankee team who has been as hot as any team in the big leagues. And I think from the other part, too, like Kratzy said, you got Matt Quatraro, who is extremely mild-mannered and a guy who probably won't get tossed a lot in his career. But, you want to let your guys know that even though we're playing good ball and I like the way things are trending, if the manager shows fight, usually the team starts to take on that identity as well. So even though he's mild-mannered and he shows that fight, that gets the boys fired up and go, hey, actually, you know what? Let's go out here and get this dub for this guy. For this, he's got our back. He's coming out here on our best players in the middle of something. And that's what you need to see from Matt Quatraro, because right now the Royals, they did a great job of having a good mix of veteran leadership coming in with young talent as well. So you have to find a way to continue to get these guys to play for something, especially in the division that's up in the air. So I think you're spot on, Kratzy. I think it was a little bit of both. I think it was a little bit of actually being pissed off that the call was missed, but also trying to light a fire under these guys. And, hey, let's not get complacent and be content with just having a better season than anybody expected up until this point.
Yeah, I like the boy who cried wolf example too with Quatraro, because he doesn't do this. I love Aaron Boone. I think he deserves to be in that role for a long time running the Yankees. But when he gets booted from the game, it's called Tuesday. Matt Quatraro just doesn't get ejected from games. So you got him to a level that clearly maybe at least made an impact with the Royals, because you just don't see it very often. So anyway, good Ump Show. Let's move to, real quick, foulterritoryshop.com. Give that a little plug, please, and then we'll hit better than box scores. So it is Father's Day weekend coming up, and we don't have laser fast shipping to get you, I don't think actually, a shirt or a hat or something like that in like 24 hours if you forgot about it, but you can show the printout if you want to hook that up with a hat, a trucker hat, a shirt, hoodie.
Scotty,
for winter.
can I
Coffee
quick say
mug,
something?
etc.
On
Go for it.
after the whole shop thing,
Yes.
foulterritoryshop.com. Get your Jones, okay? Get your gear. Neither one of those umpires have I seen. They're coming up from AAA. I haven't seen either one of those guys. And it's okay if you come up and you make a mistake and you get together with your fellow umpires who've been up there, and don't be brash. Don't have a quick trigger. Whatever it is, just call the game like you did in AAA, like what got you called up, and continue to earn your spot in the big leagues. Not, don't try to be a hero and toss somebody out because you're trying to make a name for yourself and you're not going to get walked all over. Like, watch the game. Know that Lane Thomas isn't going to be doing any nefarious stuff up at the plate.
Don't have an ego.
Yeah, that's right. And also, if you're a newer ump, you need to ease yourself into the role, right? This happens if you're a new broadcaster for a team. You need to get a little comfortable with the crowd and the audience. Obviously, how it happens with a player, a rookie, usually he's going to look a little different a few years later in terms of kind of his personality. And just, it's like in any case, right? If you hire an employee and they're freaking crazy or pain in the ass week one, you're like, what is this going to look like year two? So for an ump that gets called up from AAA, Kratz, I think there was one recently. Wasn't it a call up or a recent call up that booted Harper from a game too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
the guy in Colorado in the first inning.
Same situation.
That. You gotta ease in. Yeah.
You gotta, and it's tough because I've talked to those guys. Those guys get evaluated. Let's say it's their second year in AAA. They're not going to get called up from AAA to the big leagues without it being at least 2 years in AAA or parts of 2 years in AAA. Then that third season, they get on the list of possible call-ups. So maybe that something happens to somebody in Minnesota and somebody's in St. Paul doing a game. One of the three guys from that crew get the call-up to fill in because umpires get hurt, they get sick, and they need guys to fill in. And there's certain guys on the call-up list that at a minute's notice, they're out the door and they're flying up, and then the AAA game gets 2 umpires unless they have someone else that can fill in. All that to say, those guys are up and down, up and down, up and down. And I heard guys talk about it differently. Some guys say, I just want to go up. I don't want anybody to see me. If nobody sees me, that means I'm going to get a good evaluation. And other guys say, no, I don't want to be taken advantage of when I'm up there because they know I'm a rookie. So they want me to make sure I announce my presence with authority. And I'm like, don't do that. That's not a good look. Even some of these guys do it in spring training. If you remember from last year, Kimbrel was throwing and JT Realmuto put his mitt back and he thought the umpire had thrown another ball out. And this was a AAA big league guy. And he put his mitt back to get the ball, and the guy didn't put it in, so he thought he threw it back, and so he put his glove down, and the umpire went to drop the ball in right at that time, and he dropped it on the ground. Umpire was so embarrassed, it was like, oh, he's trying to show me up. Threw him out, and JT was like, what? What did I do?
Yeah, crazy.
So you just don't make your presence known is the biggest thing. You can have confidence without being the center of attention.
I love it.
Yeah, but that is a great example. That situation last year. Yeah. Hey, you have a mouth. Why don't you say to JT, did you really mean to just punk me right now? Right? And if JT's like, yeah, you suck. Okay, cool. You said the magic word. But if he's like, no, dude, I totally by accident, didn't realize.
Then we laugh about it.
Human beings here. Let's also have a little bit of thickness on the skin, just a little layer of thickness.
Hey, Kratzy, did you ever by any chance play with a guy named Michael Ryan, left-handed hitter, kind of shorter guy? He was real witty with the umpires, right? He had a problem with umpires. Real quick story. He said he had a really bad umpire behind the dish, and he's going back and forth, and he's like, man, that's terrible, man. That's terrible. That's awful. And he goes, hey, Mike, that's it. You one more word and you're out of here. And he looks at the umpire. He goes, well, can you throw me out for what I'm thinking? He goes, what? He goes, can you throw me out for what I'm thinking? He goes, of course not. He goes, well, I think you're an asshole. That was just the wittiest line. He said the umpire didn't know what to say. He Kratzy, he didn't know what to say, and then they laughed, and then that bat moved on. But just, witty conversation that happens between player and umpires where you should be able to have a little bit of dialogue. The line of ejection should not be that short, like Kratzy said, when you leave your ego at the door. And that's the greatest point, Kratzy. You gave me goosebumps. The best umpires, you don't even notice that they're there, especially the guys behind the dish. That's a great point.
And they're always talking about it. There's a lot of players who don't like umpires, and they're like, I'm not talking to them. I will not talk to them. And as a catcher, I kind of played that role of like playing and talking, but I think it's also my personality of just kind of chatting and having a good time and, feeling everything out. But as an umpire, if you don't talk to the players, you're going to seem like everything you do is the end-all, be-all. You have all the answers. You don't. We all make mistakes. And the more often that we can be like, hey, my bad, I got that one wrong. You're like, okay, I can live with that.
We have Ken Rosenthal at the door for the Inside Scoop. We're hitting the weekend, so we got the hard-hitting question right at the top for Ken, our FT Senior Insider, joining us right now. So, Ken, the Twins pick up a win on Thursday evening. Carlos Correa, by the way, is having a great season if you're looking at rate stats at the plate right now. But also, he apparently plays a mean guitar hero when he's growing up. And we saw you on Twitter hyping up the new celebration for Minnesota. So give us the inside scoop. Do you like it?
I love it. And what I love about it is not only is it cool to see Carlos Correa on the air guitar, but the Prince jacket is what does it. Forget the air guitar, forget Carlos looking like he's Guitar Hero. What does it is the Prince 1999 exact replica of the logo of that album. For you children out there, it's one of the great albums ever by one of the great artists ever. And I just thought, that's the guy from Minneapolis, Prince. And it was just awesome.
I love that.
Ken is a Prince guy. I had no idea.
You don't know a lot about me, Erik. Neither does AJ,
I know.
by the way.
I know. I want to learn. I want to learn about you. I don't need AJ to give you all these quips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we get bits and pieces. That's why we bring on Ken every week. He'll give us one thing before we get to business. So to just follow up on Minnesota, I mean, this was a team that was in command last year. They ended up winning the division. They had an okay playoff run. I mean, there was some success to it. Obviously, they get past the first round there. They still fall in a division series. But where are we at on the Twins? They just sent down Alex Kirilloff. I mentioned how Correa is playing better ball, but this has not been a dream start for them. And I think the biggest part of this, Ken, is the fact that they have not one, but two very legitimate contenders to mess around with that might prevent them from making the playoffs.
That's what I was going to say, and that's the problem. They can't do their usual Twins thing, maybe win 87, 90 games and expect it's going to be there for them. They've had an unusually streaky season. We've seen it all year. What is encouraging right now is that Grayson Rodriguez and Lewis are all healthy. When those three guys are all healthy, those are three superstar level players, and that's a transformational difference in that club. So can I see them chasing down Cleveland? Yes, because Cleveland is going to have some pitching issues, I believe, both in the rotation and maybe the bullpen, which has been great, but has been taxed. So this thing is not over. We're talking mid-June now. At the same time, the Twins are going to have to play more consistently than they have. And they've had some different things crop up along the way, pitching-wise. But they're still a formidable group, just maybe not as formidable and certainly facing more difficult competition than in the past.
Do you feel like this is the Royals division to have? If you're saying that the Twins are going to, try to make the move, Cleveland's going to come back down to earth, but the Royals, they have their veteran starting rotation. Where do they fall into this mighty Central that we didn't know was going to be coming up this season?
They've gone backwards a little bit in the past week, partly due to who they've played, the Yankees. But yes, I like where they are, and I like who they are. they've got two superstar position players. Witt Jr., of course, is the biggest. Sal Perez cannot be discounted either. We've talked a lot about the impact of their veteran starters. They're going to need help in the bullpen, more swing and miss in the bullpen. All teams are going to need help in the bullpen. We'll be saying that over and over again. I don't know if they can catch Cleveland. I don't know how this thing is going to play out, but they're real, and Cleveland is real. Cleveland's offense, it's a top 5 offense, which is astonishing because they were a bottom 5 offense last year. Their offensive transformation, along with the Red Sox rotation transformation, ERA in general, those are the two biggest out of nowhere things of the season for me. So I still will bet the Indians here, but they're going to have to do some things at the deadline too to shore up their pitching, and we'll see where it goes from there. I was talking this morning with a manager in that division, not of the Guardians, some other team, and he made the point that Indians or the Guardians always seem to operate with the platoon advantage. They have all those switch hitters, they have left-handed hitters, they're really good matchup-wise, so they're formidable. There's no doubt about that.
Okay.
Hey, yeah. Go ahead, Kratzy.
No, go ahead, Cam. You're good.
No, I'm curious because when we talk about this division, you talk about the platoon division and the platoon advantage that the Guardians have, and I think a lot of that comes from player development, which you have to give them a lot of credit for, and getting guys to understand what they do extremely well. And I think Tito Francona did a really good job of setting that foundation up and leaving it to Stephen Vogt. But when you look at the Twins, I'm curious on in that division. It's so up in the air, and I covered it last year, and you know you've covered all of these divisions. It's so up in the air. Are they looking to try to make a move? Do they have the pieces in the minor leagues? Because we kind of know what they have as far as the guys that they brought up. Are those prospects too far away? What are they looking to do to try to make a jump, or are they just gonna kind of play it out? Do you know?
No, I don't expect they'll just play it out. And all teams, when they're in position to win, well, not all teams, obviously, but a team when it's in position to win should try. And the Guardians historically have done that. If you remember, they added Encarnacion the one year. They've added others, Josh Donaldson. So they're not going to sit back and simply let this thing play out. They're going to try to seize the moment and take advantage of the opportunity. And yes, they have prospects that they can move. They could have things that they can do. There's no question about that. Money is always an issue with Cleveland. We've seen that. We saw it in the offseason in a big way, which is another reason why this is such a great surprise that they've taken this step forward when they didn't do a whole lot in the offseason. So I do expect them to be active and seek improvements. They're going to need to. They know that, and you can't simply let this opportunity pass without making that extra effort. And also, guys, you know this too from playing. There's something about the clubhouse when the front office matches the effort being made on the field. And there's something about a clubhouse when the front office doesn't match the effort being made on the field. The Guardians front office is conscientious and they're mindful of what's going on. And I don't know that they're going to go out there and just let this hang and disappoint their players in that fashion. It's not how they roll.
All right. Can I put quotation marks around mass of mediocrity? How is this going to affect the trade talks?
Definitely going to affect it. And if you look at both wildcard races, there are a bunch of teams in the mix right now. Now, the deadline is 6 weeks away. So much is going to happen in the next 6 weeks. We'll see some teams fall off and fall out of contention, perhaps, and then they would at least need to entertain selling. And then you'll see needs arise that we don't anticipate, all kinds of things. But the way executives around the game look at it at the moment, simply at the moment, is that it's going to be a seller's market, that the teams with players to trade will do quite well because there simply is not going to be a lot of talent out there. Now, the other aspect of this, we always look at it as either or, seller or buyer, when in many years teams can do both at once, and contenders will try maybe to deal with contenders, your need for my need. That's possible. It's not a binary equation here. So I always expect the deadline to be active because rarely do we see the deadline inactive, but it might take a different form this year if this trend continues and the mass of mediocrity extends into July.
Okay. Is there panic in Atlanta? Is their battery getting a little bit low of charge in the battery right now?
No, there's not panic. There are a lot of quizzical looks, I'm sure, in the Battery and at Truist Park. And it's funny, there are teams, because offense is down, that just seem kind of taken aback by what's going on. Atlanta is one of them. Texas is another. They can't figure out where their offense is either. And around the game, this is kind of a consistent thing. The Yankees obviously have a great offense, but even the Dodgers, they've had their struggles at times. And that's one thing this season has kind of, or has distinguished this season as opposed to maybe some others in the recent past. The curiosity regarding where the offense has gone. We know the pitching is great and all that. There are questions about the ball. There are every year, one way or the other. But Atlanta, I'm sure, is relying on their track record, knowing that they've done some things in the past that obviously we all are recognizing. And hold on one second, guys. I'm sorry.
Ken's getting his bus ticket again.
No, this is actually more meaningful, but I can't talk about it till it's out.
Okay.
So basically, with Atlanta, they have to trust their track record. They do. They have to expect that Austin Riley is going to hit and that all these things are going to take place and they'll go back to where they have been in the past. Now, will it happen? We don't know that. And it's funny, when Acuna was injured, the question was, well, who are they going to get to replace him? They might not need to replace him per se, but they might need to shake it up in some other way. They might need pitching. There are all kinds of things that Alex Anthopoulos, I am sure, will consider as their president of baseball operations. And I don't know where it's going with them. It's very surprising to see this historic offense from 2023 be a mediocre offense in 2024.
Hey, Ken, my curiosity revolves around the first baseman in Arizona. In a walk year, I don't want to put anything out there, but you're seeing teams like the Yankees with a very solid offense. Anthony Rizzo has struggled. There are some teams out there maybe in the market for a first baseman. Is there a spot, or are the Arizona Diamondbacks in a position where they're quietly working on something with Christian Walker, or do they just play this thing out and allow him to walk without getting something for a first baseman who has been defensively the best first baseman in baseball the last 3 to 4 seasons, and offensively, even at his age, he still is continuing to ascend when you talk about his offensive production? Is there a market for him somewhere?
I don't think the Diamondbacks are going to give up on their season easily. But Cam, let me talk about something that we were just working on. The Astros actually just announced it. Abreu has been DFA'd. Jose Abreu DFA'd by the Astros. Obviously, a huge move considering they signed him to that big deal a couple of years ago. He's got a lot of money left on this contract. He has not performed. And if you remember, they sent him to the spring training complex, tried to get him straightened out. Hasn't happened. He's clogged the roster. This is a stunning move, quite obviously, for the Astros. They will clearly go with some other players, Loperfido perhaps, John Singleton. They can do some other things at first base. It wasn't working with Jose Abreu. They had to do this. So that's the big news of the day at this moment. Now, as for Christian Walker and the Diamondbacks, a team's invested a lot in their season, right? They signed Eduardo Rodriguez. They signed Jordan Montgomery. You could make the case, Cam, that if it doesn't work, if they feel by, I don't know, July 20th, 25th, that they're not going to be a playoff team or whatever, yeah, they could go try to save some money and trade some of these guys. But I don't see it. They've made this commitment and they want to go forward. They want to try to build on what they had last year. And remember, last year, August 14th, they were below 500. So they know they've done it once before and they can do it again.
So is there any inclination that they might try to, extend Christian Walker? They think they can bring him back after the season, clearly.
I don't know where they are with that. I would imagine they would like to extend Christian Walker. The guy is kind of everything you would want in a player. Offensively, defensively, he's a leader. He does everything that you would ask. At the same time, I don't know where they are financially. They're one of the teams with the regional television issue and didn't stop them this offseason because they were coming off a World Series and their owner, Ken Kendrick, said, we're going to go. We're going to take the money that we made by reaching the World Series, and we're going to reinvest it, and we'll worry about the TV part of it later. So obviously, this, no team can keep every player or will keep every player, but I would imagine Christian Walker will be high on their priority list if they can get it done.
Hey, Ken, last one before you go, just to double down on this Astros news, and we appreciate you sharing it with us. So they're 8 out in the division. They're 6 back in the wild card. There's a bunch of teams obviously in front of them. It hasn't been a rosy start for them. How do you compare, what happened here to how this team has gone through a lot of front office turnover, and decisions were made when Jose Abreu signed. It's kind of later in his 30s. I'm looking back 3 years, $58.5 million. Although I do remember, actually, I have in my notes, you reported at the time, there was plenty of interest for Jose Abreu. So it's not like we're just going to dump on the Astros and be like, hey, this was the only team that was going after him. So what are your big picture thoughts on how this signing really did not work out for the most part?
They had a period where they were between general managers, and they did some things without a general manager, right? James Click was gone. They had not yet hired Dana Brown. Abreu, if I'm not mistaken, was signed in that period. I'm almost positive. I'm just speaking off the top of my head, though. I don't want to commit to anything. So, yeah, that certainly was a decision that backfired. Rafael Montero was another one that was made during that period. You need a general manager. That's kind of a lesson here. Now, I know they've got Bagwell and they've got Reggie Jackson. Those are guys who are great players. There's a difference between being a great player and a great front office executive. We don't see many guys in Andrew Friedman or Brian Cashman's position who are former players. That was once a thing. It's not really a thing anymore. It's two different tracks of career paths, really. So this is instructive in some ways, but at the same time, Scott, I don't know that anyone anticipated Jose Abreu would decline this quickly. So there's only so much blame to go around as well.
Ken, we appreciate the time. Thanks for jumping in about that, and enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Ken Rosenthal, FT Senior Insider with us. Yes, and that is actually really good reasoning for Ken to be checking the phone while that was going down. So Abreu cut loose by Houston. I mean, whatever it is, DFA or cut. I mean, no one's, just for everyone to know, on a DFA. It's not like someone's picking up his salary. So the Astros are cutting him loose. He could sign, a league minimum deal or something like that if another team wants to give him a chance, but he's owed over $30 million left on that contract. So this, for the most part, was a failed signing. I know there were some positive signs, Cam, last year in October for Abreu after struggling for a good chunk of the year, but I mean, this is not what they expected from him when they signed him a couple years back, and he was still hitting the baseball hard. Like, there was quality of contact there, even though he was at an older age for the game.
Yeah, I think the numbers, you could start to see the numbers slowly decline. I think a lot more ground balls than usually in the past. But like you said, the metrics were still there. The velocity was still up. And even myself, I thought, personally, it was just time for a change of scenery. I thought the Chicago White Sox, days had run its course. I thought he just needed to get out of there. But Kratz knows like I know, and Father Time is undefeated, and it's crazy to look back at a situation at the time where they were kind of in limbo with Yuli Gurriel, who was older as well. But here you go, you don't sign him back, who was a very intricate piece of the puzzle when you talk about what the Astros have built over the past, and then you bring in a guy who pretty much is on that same hill, and that's on the other side of it, and then you got what you got. So it's unfortunate, but like you said, it's not to dump on the Astros. There's a lot of teams out there with a lot of interest in Jose Abreu because of his track record, what he did. But hey, it's baseball, and it isn't the first time I've seen this happen, and it probably won't be the last.
He played every day too. Even his last season with the White Sox, this was a dude that played every single day. He really only had 11 seasons in the big leagues. Like, that's crazy to me, but he started later, coming over from Cuba. He started at 27. Now he's 37. But what an amazing career. Not saying he won't get picked up, but we talk about like other guys that are going out on the market, teams that need a first baseman. I think somebody will give him a shot. Will it be a contender? I don't know, but I really blame most of this on Todd Frazier, the Todd father, because he picked him to be the home run champion last year before the season. And so I blame Todd.
That's so mature of you, Kratz, to pick on Todd on Fraser Friday when he's actually not here. But I thought Ken's point was interesting too about the front office turnover that has gone down in Houston. Not to mention, I mean, this doesn't have to do with this particular signing or decision, but they did lose draft picks. Like there are certain things that can eventually catch up to a team that has really had so much success over the past decade or so. Here's Chandler Rome, negative 1.6 wins above replacement over the life of the 3-year, $58.5 million contract. It will go down, he said. It's the worst contract in franchise history. But again, I mean, there was interest here. I believe when he signed Boston, was highly interested. I'm looking back at some of the articles here, including some words from Ken. It looked like Cleveland made an offer. San Diego made an offer. I think he wrote Miami, Chicago, Tampa Bay were in the mix. Some teams didn't love that there was or what was it? Teams did love that there was no qualifying offer attached. See, that's the part that drives me nuts, though. Like, you're evaluating a player based off if he has a qualifying offer attached or not. Like, do you like the player or not? This is sometimes where the, quote, old school side of me comes in. I'm like, not everything has to be Wall Street analysis. Like, you like that part of the signing. How about, do we think this player is going to crush it for the next 3 years and we should outbid everyone? So the Astros end up doing that.
I don't think anybody would have disagreed with the Astros here. Maybe somebody would have said 2 years. Maybe somebody would have said $50 million for 3, whatever it is. For up until when he signed with the Astros, he was in a place he was comfortable. He won Rookie of the Year. He won an MVP. He was a 3-time All-Star. The one year he didn't get MVP votes of his career, he won a Silver Slugger, and he was an All-Star that year. So he did everything all the way up until when he signed with the Astros, and maybe it's really just a comfort factor. Why can't Jose Abreu go back to closer to what he was, an over 800 OPS guy right now, like he was before he got to the Astros? Maybe it's just a comfort factor. It is harder than you think coming over from another country and playing in America, playing Major League Baseball, all those things. That comfort goes into it, and he went to a new place, and maybe there was a comfort issue for him.
And listen, I truly believe this. I think if we go back to that signing, I think the consensus would be, oh my gosh, the Astros just signed Jose Abreu. Are you kidding me? Now they're going to have Abreu. They're going to have Bregman. They're going to have I think the consensus was, holy crap, now this team that has been dominating the AL, they just got stronger. So nobody saw this coming. Nobody expected this. We thought he definitely had, another, like Scotty said, another good 3-year run of good baseball in him. And like you said, Kratzy, who knows what to say if he'll get signed. I personally think it's going to be tough when you look at the last 2 years sample size and then you start talking about age and the way these organizations do business. It's going to be tough for somebody to sign him on something more than just a minimum deal, and especially a meaningful roster at this point, unless somebody really truly believes that they can get him tweaked out and get him back on track.
We're also at the time of year where more drastic decisions are made for teams. Like we mentioned this for a moment, but Alex Kirilloff, who's been, at times a big part of the Twins, was sent down. There's been a number of players that have been optioned over the last couple of weeks. We talked about many of them, an Edouard Julien, a Spencer Torkelson, a Reed Detmers, right? You have multiple months to evaluate a player. Abreu stood out because it was so bad, right? It wasn't a guy that was, struggling a little bit below average, right? This was one of the worst players in baseball over the first month and change, or however it took until he got sent down and then went to work on things. And Houston just can't be in this mode right now. I mean, they're going to have to go on a little run. They just can't afford to have this kind of first base production, both offense and defense, because defense was a problem too. It was slowing down for him a lot. So Kratz, I'm just trying to compare and contrast to a situation like Chris Taylor, where Dodger fans, many, have been pretty vocal. We have a show, Dodgers Territory, where it's come up quite frequently. The Dodgers can afford to be a little bit more patient with a player like that. I know some fans feel differently, but Houston's in a different mode. It's a team that might make the playoffs by a game if they do get in. And that's been the case for them. Actually, if you look back on a few different occasions, especially last year, and I think in 2020 was the case too, even though that was a different season. LA is a very different team. They're usually cruising to a double-digit division, title, right? Aside from the year the Giants messed around with them a few years back, right? Is that a good way to compare it? Because those are two players that have just not hit the baseball at all for the first few months.
Absolutely. Or even look at Walker Buehler. Other teams don't have an opportunity to let Walker Buehler get, as he said, the FU back in his fastball. They don't have that luxury because they're scratching, clawing. You look at JT Realmuto. JT Realmuto may or may not have been able to play through his meniscus issue that he had in Philly, but the Phillies have a huge lead. So teams with those leads, teams with the depth, have an opportunity to let these veterans play stuff out, figure it out, because they'll be helpful in the playoffs for them.
All right, let's move on here. We got another guest ready to go, or multiple guests, so we'll step aside for a moment on FT. Unified Healing is sponsoring this episode of Foul Territory. Unified Healing is an innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. This technology promotes wellness and deep relaxation, and there are hundreds of locations across the globe. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/foul to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYD healing.com/FOUL. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System. All right, FT fam. This one we've been looking forward to for quite a bit. Father's Day is this weekend, and we're joined right now by the Gilbert family. I'll explain the story first before we bring them in, actually, but they're ready to go. They're waiting for us. So Keisha, Dane, and Chase are going to join us on the show. And their father, Dane and Chase's father, Keisha's husband, was U.S. Air Force Colonel Ronald Erik Gilbert. He passed away unexpectedly while serving in 2020 at 43 years old. And his goal was to visit all 30 MLB parks before Dane, who's going to join us in a moment, turned 18 years old. They were able to get to 28 parks before he passed away. They did a 30-day road trip. They visited 17 fields at one point. So we're going to get into all of that right now and get more context from the fam. A special conversation here with Father's Day approaching on the weekend. And of course, we honor our veterans and guys, and also Keisha, great to have you on. Dane, Chase, we really appreciate the time. First off, I don't know if one of you wants to take the lead here to just add to what I just said, but can you explain to everyone what you've been able to do in terms of visiting different ballparks and how much this trip and all of this means to your father?
I mean, you said it pretty well. He had a goal before I turned 18 was to visit all 30 MLB ballparks, and we managed to get 28 out of the 30, missing the 2 Florida teams before he passed away. And this past weekend, we were able to go down to Miami and Tampa and get those 2 to get all 30.
All right, so take me through as we're looking through some photos here. Now we got some funkiness going on. We'll try and get them right back in just a sec. I think there was a little bit of an internet hiccup. Okay, there we go. All right, so can you take us through then, either Dane or Chase? I see you with the Marlins and the Rays shirts. What it was like to visit those 2 spots just now.
I mean, the Tampa Bay Rays was a great stadium, and the people there especially were just super nice. I mean, they brought us into the media box. We were able to see the field from that point of view, and that was once in a lifetime experience. Super cool. And then the Marlins Stadium was awesome. I mean, just going in the dugout and then being surprised with throwing up the first pitch and meeting Dane Meyer and Calvin Foucher. I mean, it was just great.
Hey guys, it's Cam Maybin here. Super excited to have you on. I just very much appreciate how you guys are continuing to carry your dad's legacy on. I think it's amazing. Now going back through the history of you guys visiting all these stadiums, I just get goosebumps talking about this stuff. What is your fondest memory of going to the stadium with your father? And if both of you had to pick, give me your favorite stadium so far.
I think we've got some.
All right, we'll try and work on some things. Unfortunately, I think we got some bad connection there with the Gilbert fam as we're looking through some photos and some videos. So we'll keep working on that and hopefully be able to get them back. But Cam, Kratz, you both good?
Yeah,
Good.
man. I'm eager.
Right, cool.
I'm eager to hear this story.
Yeah, we'll do our
definitely.
best there. Obviously, a lot going on. We're doing basically TV quality show here on YouTube with people all over the freaking map right now. Literally, I am in Greece. And actually, my connection's been pretty solid. I mean, knock on the wood behind me, but the Wi-Fi is flowing out here in the ocean. Can we do better than box scores for a moment? Can we flow over to that? Let's see. There we go. We're going to give a little bit of love to Garrett Crochet from last night for the White Sox, who took down the Mariners. I know Ryan Divish was on the show yesterday and gave us a great update on Seattle. It's no secret Seattle can pitch. They're lights out with their staff, but the offense has been the problem for them. Crochet yesterday, 7 innings, 2 hits, and a career-high 13 strikeouts. But there was a uniqueness to yesterday's performance. Out of 102 pitches, guess how many of them were not fastballs? And I'm counting cutters, right? So soft stuff. How many?
I know it was pretty much fastball slider for the most part. 25.
Yeah.
5.
So fastball and cutter, right? That's the bread and butter. And then he had 1 changeup. That's it. So everything was hard. 1.
That's
Who was it we were talking about earlier that couldn't hit breaking balls earlier in the year? And the White Sox were like, whatever. We'll just do what we want. And they just kept throwing fastballs and just kept teeing off on them. I forget who it was. But
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember. Yes.
I would love to ask Crochet if he just was like feeling it that day, or if it was the report like, look, the Mariners cannot touch a heater. They definitely can't touch your heater up in the zone. Let's let it eat.
Mm-hmm. All right, and let's go back to the Gilbert family. Let's try the connection again here. Do we have the Gilberts? Let's bring them back in. All right, cool. Keisha, Dane, Chase, great to have you back on. Keisha, we'll let you jump in for a moment here. Can you describe your side of the story and what you went through, as a wife and a mother, and how important it was to, kind of accomplish the end of a trip like this?
Well, when the memories that they've made on these as a family, that we've all made on this goal, this dream, throughout all 28 ballparks, was simply amazing. The fact that these two guys have those memories that they made with their father is so important. But to have accomplished those last 2 and do what Erik set out to do was amazing. I mean, that's what you want for your kid, right? You want to make those dreams come true, and just kind of put a feather in the cap for that last little dream that Erik had for us. And I definitely think he was smiling down like, yes, got it. So it was good.
You guys would go, you make it a point to go to a place and cheer for the home team. Do you find one player on that home team? I think that is so cool that you guys are like, we're going to see the Marlins play. That's one of the last stadiums. So we're going to cheer for the Marlins. Do you guys find one player that you're like, that's our guy? And have you continued over these years, like, following that guy and collected basically 30 favorite players.
So Dane is our resident baseball expert, stats, players, collects baseball cards. So he always lets us know, oh, we got to look out for this player and this player, and so he's always right on target with that and very enthusiastic about that. So I'll let him take that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like watching players, like, just as I've grown up, like, especially now, like, when we went to the Marlins, like, Jazz has been one of my favorite players to watch just because of how flashy he is, how he carries himself on the field. And same thing with the Rays. Randy Arozarena was kind of the guy I was watching for there. Same thing, kind of carry himself on the field. It's just kind of that fun, flashy player that I like.
I like it. I was asking you guys before we got cut off. You guys have hit all these stadiums now. You've covered them all, and I know it's been a long time coming. What are your favorite stadiums, and which what's your most Dane? What's your most prized possessed baseball card? And since you're a collector, I know this is coming back. When Kratz and I were kids, that was big. Now it's coming back full circle. What's your most prized baseball card? And give me both of your guys' favorite stadium.
So my favorite card, so I grew up an Angels fan because my dad was from Southern California. And kind of when Taylor Ward started playing for the Angels, I was kind of like, man, I kind of like this guy. So I started a PC, a personal collection on him. So I have, what would you say, like 150, 200 of his cards. And I think my favorite one is a rookie patch auto of his. So it has a piece of his jersey and an autograph on his, and it was a rookie card. And it's numbered out of 15. And so there's only 15 of those. And so I think that's probably my favorite card I have.
Also, I've been told FT fans, which obviously we always like. So how is your, baseball consuming experience with games and FT and everything else? And, how do you think we're doing? Especially Kratz. If you want to make fun of Kratz, he's here every day. Go for it.
No, I think it's awesome what you guys do. I would just love just to talk about baseball all day and just kind of just get to do what you guys do. I think it's awesome.
I agree.
He was nice.
I agree. I love my job. Our show's only 2 hours, and I look down every day. I'm like, oh, dang it, it's 2:48. Like it goes fast. So I hope you keep that love for the game. But is there something when you guys go to the games that you're like, I remember when Dad used to do this. We would go into, like, we're looking at Comiskey. When we went to Comiskey, he would always get nachos, or he loved this. Is there something that you guys have carried on that every time you go into a ballpark, you think of that and you think of your dad?
So we always had a tradition to find the wackiest or craziest food at each ballpark, and so we definitely like the 3 feet long Cubano at the Miami Marlins game.
We didn't get that.
We did not end up getting that. That was just kind of our thing. Just get all the weird and crazy foods at the different ballparks.
And what is the worst? And what is the best?
The best, in my opinion, was probably the churro dog at the Chase Field, the Diamondback Stadium. And then the worst.
Well, Dad wouldn't let you get the
Fruity Pebble.
Yeah. It was Fruity Pebble mac and cheese, I think.
Fruit Loop mac and cheese hot dog at PNC.
Yeah.
Dad's
Come on. That's a real
Explain
thing.
the churro dog, though. Explain the churro dog for me, because that
the
actually
churro
sounds
dog
delicious.
I want to hear.
It sounds
So
amazing.
it's a Long John donut cut in half, and then it has a churro placed in the middle, and then scoops of ice cream on top with chocolate syrup and stuff. It was really good.
Stop it. Oh,
Kratzy, I don't think neither one of us can have that. I think we got a tag. Man.
I mean a donut with ice cream. How can you go wrong? I feel
exactly.
that is. How close have you guys come to catching a pop-up or catching a foul ball or home run?
So we always go to BP before games, and so we get a bunch of balls then. But I think the closest we ever came was we were at Fenway, and we were sitting on top of the Green Monster. And the game went to 12 innings, and Christian Vasquez hit a walk-off 3-run home run right to us, and we just missed it.
It bounced.
Yeah.
Oh, that is okay. My last one, real quick, then we'll let you guys go. As a kid, I used to go to Veterans Stadium. Veterans Stadium had these ugly, ugly green turf. and my eyes are still seared from this ugly green turf. Do you guys have a spot in the stadium? Because at not Citizens Bank, at the Vet, you'd walk into the stadium and you couldn't see the field until you got to a certain point. Even as a big leaguer, when I would walk into stadiums from the concourse and look onto the field, that is my favorite part of going to a stadium. Is there a thing or something at the stadium that you're like, when we get to Tampa, I want to see this. When we get to Miami, I want to see it this way because I see this at every park. Something that's seared in your young memories.
So I think everything is like every time we go to a game, we always do BP, and then in between BP and first pitch, we always just take a lap around and just kind of check out the field in the stadium from everywhere. And I think that's just kind of the coolest thing, just getting to see, especially like behind home plate, and just get to see the entire field in front of you. I think that was the coolest thing.
Well, every field too every stadium has history, a seat, a memorial, or something. And Dane was always in charge of finding that we needed to find. We'd go take pictures, at the Mile High Mark at Coors, or the George Brett statue at the K. That was more for me. But yeah, all those different things at all the stadiums, and it's just pretty cool. But we always took a panoramic shot at every stadium. So I've got a book to make for Christmas now that we've got all 30, and so those will all be included.
I've got one last quick one, and I love hearing the amazing stories, but I'm always curious. Kauffman Stadium was my favorite stadium to play in. I love going to Kauffman. Just something about it is super cool. The fans are great. I love the gold. I love the crowns. Tell me your guys' what was your least favorite stadium?
Oh.
Each one, I need one from me. I need one from each one of you guys. Which one was the least favorite?
I think Oakland.
I think all three of us agree on that one.
Kratzy, there you go. I had to ask, and that's what I was thinking. I was hoping it was going to be. I'm sorry, it is. It's the worst.
So we'll revisit, the next ballpark. We've got a few that we need to remake now.
Yeah.
There's a new Braves,
Texas,
yeah,
New Texas.
New Texas. So we'll get that one. We're taking Dane for his graduation trip and 18th birthday trip to All-Star Game and Home Run Derby. So we'll get the Arlington one.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, we'll be there too. So swing by and say hello. We'll be around Texas Live. We'll post more information. Yeah, definitely swing by and say hello to us. We'll post more information. One of the shows will be public in front of the crowd and all of that. So, this was awesome. I also just want to shout out the Tragedy Assistance Program for survivors. It's called TAPS. I know they were able to help make the end of the trip possible with the Rays and the Marlins trips and how special they were. So thank you so much for sharing the story, and of course for watching FT, but also for accomplishing your goals and really being an inspiration in so many ways. And of course, as your father was, we thank him for his service, and I know he's dearly missed. So thank you so much to the three of you for joining us, and enjoy the of course, and enjoy the continuing ballpark tour. Hopefully there's always, new parks popping up. We'll keep putting pressure on the owners to update their ballparks. Yeah. All right.
That's right. Or we hit the minor leagues now.
Yep.
That's true. That's true. Well, then you'll go forever. And if you need help, Kratz is your guy. Right.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Gilbert family joining us on FT right now. That was awesome. So, and we could do our shout out right now too. We knew this was a special story and a special time to bring this up. Again, if you missed us at the beginning here, the Gilbert family, big baseball fans, big FT fans, and the late, incredible Ronald Gilbert, U.S. Air Force Colonel, passed away unexpectedly while serving in 2020 at 43 years old. And there are your photos again that we'll run through for everyone. But we know how much parents are a part of the baseball experience for almost everyone, whether you're playing, going to games, the whole deal. There's nostalgia to this, and the Mother's Day and the Father's Day games that go down. We had Mother's Day a few weeks ago and Father's Day coming up here on Sunday. They're special. They're always special. They always stand out. it always stood out for me, whether I was, broadcasting a game or hosting a show. Obviously, we don't do our shows live on Sundays, but wanted to shout it all out. So, if you want to do a shout out right now, Kratz, obviously the connection to being a father and being in baseball. And Cam, if you want to follow after EK, now's the time for it.
I mean, as a dad, you're like, oh man, the connection with baseball and my boys and my daughter. Last night, I just got to go to my daughter's practice. And so being a dad is something that I don't know that I grew up man, I can't wait till I'm a dad because I love my dad. My dad is still around. We were just at a game together, but to be able to be part of experiences on the baseball and softball field as a father, it is so much more fulfilling than as a player. There was a lot of experiences that were fulfilling as a player. You work towards those things, but to see my kids succeed in different things, whether it's reaching a goal, whether it's accomplishing something, or it's just winning a game and seeing them happy is awesome. And it really makes me appreciate my dad for all the games he went to, all the times that he traveled so far to see me play in college, in pro ball, in high school. In high school, one time my dad, he got off work early. He drove all the way down to the city. We were playing in a game, and it was the first time I'd ever gotten thrown out of a game. I only got thrown out 2 times after that, 3 times in my entire life. He got off of work. He walked all the way across the parking lot and the soccer field to see me throw my bat up against the screen and get thrown out of the game. So you appreciate those things as a dad now with boys who haven't come close to getting thrown out of a game. But I appreciate what my dad put into my career, but more so what he put into my life and the love that he showed me through supporting me in what I did.
Very well said. Very well said. I think I echo those sentiments. I think it's important if you are a father, you do have young children, the shaping, the molding, that you can do, with your kids, I think is very special. But like Kratzy said, loving them, giving them grace, allowing them to make mistakes. I think it's a big part of the maturation and the growth process. So definitely, again, my dad just came to watch me coach, and he said it was the most nerve-wracking thing that he's done in years. More nerve-wracking than watching me play because I can only have so much control. I can't go out there and play anymore. So being able to share those experiences, watching him being able to watch me play, now watch me coach, I think it's amazing. But I also want to just say too, today marks the 5th year that my mother is cancer-free. She just texted me last night. She's officially done with treatment, officially cancer-free. So I'm super excited, super thankful. And what a blessing to have both of my parents still here. So, I appreciate that opportunity to give both of them love for sure.
That's awesome, Cam. That is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Love to hear that. Yeah. And shout out to your fam as well, to both of your fams, and to you too. Happy Father's Day. And then to my father, happy Father's Day. I know he watches basically every single second of every FT show. So he's a big fan.
Yes,
He'll
he
be
does.
chilling after.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he does. Oh, yeah.
Your
Kratz
dad
was just with him.
Your dad, Scott's dad is exactly the proud dad of what I was just talking about. Scott hasn't played sports since high school, but Scott's dad is so proud of what he does and of what Scott has accomplished and the man that he is. And every time I see him, he's just glowing about Scott. So it's fun to see. So I never told you that, Scott, but we talked quite a bit at the Lakewood game.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And he's basically on his way to retirement. He's getting there. So he's just going to tag along to some cool events here and there. I'm like, go for it. Absolutely. He worked his ass off for a long time, almost never days off pretty much. So shout out Dad, taking me to games when I was clearly not going to make money off of playing sports, but talking sports, which is actually usually an interesting conversation when you tell your parents that you can't do, most things either well enough or care enough in school, and you want to just talk about sports and think that you're going to be able to create a living out of that. Interesting conversation for some, but they were like, cool. Cool, go for it. Hey, work your ass off. Go for it. Give it a shot. And they're like, as long as you work, if you fall on your face, you'll figure something else out. You got to have the work ethic. That was the key there. That was the, I would say, key tool. They were like, have the work ethic. At least if you're going for something, you better say that you went all out for it. And then if not, then you already created that work ethic that'll enable you to get another job. So very, very good stuff here on Father's Day. All right, let's move on to some questions for Cam. Cam's going to take center stage here right now for some baseballism cues. All right, you're on the hot seat, Cam. We got 3 for you. You ready to go?
Let's do it. Let's rock and roll.
Okay, number 1, one random thing from your career that you have kept. And the backdrop of the show today for you helps us to think that there's at least one weird, wacky, cool story to this. You got anything for us?
One random thing that I've kept. Random. You know what? I don't have anything random. Like, you know what I kept? Like, I kept like all the team socks, like the stand socks. Like, I've got just a drawer full of just 10 different teams, stand socks on deck, and I wear them anytime I'm going to the cage to work out. It's probably a little OD, but I love those stand socks, man. That was probably the quirkiest thing I ever kept.
What about the coolest person that you met through baseball, a celebrity or an athlete?
The coolest person to me, and I hope this doesn't sound, boring, but honestly, it would probably be Willie Mays. I had an opportunity when I was in San Diego. I wore number 24 earlier on in my career, and we played the Giants quite often. And I don't know what it was about just the way I was playing, but Willie Mays took a liking to how I played the game when I was in San Diego, and he invited me to his house during the series versus the Giants. And I went out to his house, and I had lunch, and he had his assistant make us lunch, and he took me around his house and showed me his trophy room, and his garage was full of memorabilia, and you see all the gold gloves. But the coolest thing about that trip to his house is he had this statue, life-size statue of his hands in gold. And he had the biggest hands. When he shook your hand, his fingers would literally grab your wrist. So I thought that was the coolest thing, just to see how huge this man's hands was. And he had a statue actually made out of gold with the actual size of his hands at his house. So that was probably one of the coolest moments, coolest people that I had an opportunity to meet.
I mean, that is a very valid answer, Kratz. I thought he was going to pull, I don't even know, like maybe a name.
I thought he'd be like Jordan.
Yeah. Or that too. Yeah. Like Willie Mays, you can always drop
Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, yeah.
That was good. Okay, lastly, and I like this one. Let's see if Cam's got something good, because you've traveled. Besides work, obviously, I know you like to go on a little vacay here and there. So do you have a city in mind that you think would be cool to have a baseball team someday? It could be a wacky answer too if you want.
It's not wacky, and I'm a little biased. I'm from North Carolina. I think this is God's country. I think this is a beautiful place, and I think Charlotte, North Carolina, I think they started it. I think a while back with the Knight Stadium, but I think Charlotte would be a great place to have a baseball team. I think waking up here, you've got the mountains, you've got the greenery, you got a city that's growing. I think people love North Carolina. Fairly safe. I would love to see a big league team in Charlotte, North Carolina, for sure.
Very valid answer, and a contender. That's a contender for a team.
Kratz, you played in Charlotte before, right?
Come on, everybody loves Charlotte.
Big league city. It's got a big league feel. It really does.
Absolutely.
All right, good stuff, Cam. So those questions, thanks to Baseballism, the official lifestyle brand of baseball. You can check out their Father's Day collection. Obviously, it's still up and around for you to go get. You can hook up Dad with something cool like that shirt. And also the Legend of Tony Gwynn collection is available at baseballism.com. We had some combos, including with Tony Gwynn Jr. about the collection and also just about Tony. So a lot of cool stuff to catch over at baseballism.com. Money moves time.
Show me the money.
Show me the money! Show me the money!
Just one today. Ready for it? Ben Nicholson Smith, friend of the show, covers the Blue Jays, said, I'll read the tweet. Heard from some Blue Jays season ticket holders who got their 2025 renewal notices via email this afternoon. Typically, first payments for the following year are required in August or September. This year, payment is due on July 22nd. Anyone know what comes up? Well, I guess you can see it on the screen, but for the podcast crowd, they'll hear this later. Anyone know what comes up just 8 days after that payment is due?
When Bo Bichette finds a new team, is that when it is? The trade deadline. I just went and talked on a Blue Jays TV radio show. Whatever, they're doing both now, TV and radio. But we talked about how the Blue Jays have squandered in mediocrity for the last 2 years with what should be a playoff team. Always hitting the under on wins per season, in the sense that they made the playoffs last year, but they're kind of like, are they good? They're being propped up by their pitching. And to me, this Blue Jays team, to do something like this, whether it was on purpose, that they're like, hey, we're going to need that money before we trade any of our players away, or if it's just some kind of clerical error that I pretty sure isn't the case, it's kind of bull, because they really didn't do anything this offseason to add to a team that this is their winning window. And really, the window is slightly more shut. Not saying Cavan Biggio was going to be the savior, just saying that in this window, they had the baby Blue Jays and Cavan Biggio, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero. Like, these were the guys that were supposed to push them into the playoffs, perennial MVP candidates, and it just hasn't happened. So for the Blue Jays front office or ticket sales or ownership, whoever did this, let's just push it back. Let's just make it sure it's the same time as it was other years, because it's a bad look when you're not putting any extra money out for this team.
It's a real bad look, right? When you start talking about the rumblings of, what are we going to do with these guys? Bo Bichette not quite playing up to his value. What is his value? Vladdy now playing like the guy who we thought he was. We're starting to gas like that a little bit. Talk about Vladdy a little bit more to make him a little bit more interesting when it comes to trade rumors. But I'm with you, Kratzy. Bold is right. I mean, this is literally like, hey, I'm at the store. I'm going to take this candy right in front of your face, and I'm not going to pay for it. I'm going to walk out. You're pretty much telling everybody what's to come. I mean, if you're doing this right now, this says to me, hey, let me get this money before we go ahead and sell everybody off, before these fans realize, hey, you know what? I'm not sure if I want to renew my season ticket. So it was an extremely bold move. I think they thought their fan base or their season ticket fan base holders were maybe not as bright as maybe they are. So I think, like you said, Kratzy, you might want to rethink this. Or if you're just a fan, you just say, hey, you know what? I'll wait to see what you guys do and chalk it up and just go to a game when I have time to next year.
Or how about this? How about you add a little bit, since you didn't do anything in the offseason to really add to this team, how about you inject a little bit of energy for Blue Jays baseball, energy into the team, and maybe choose either Vlad or Bo, whoever you think needs a little bit more motivation, and give the other guy that extension that they're looking for. Now, I bet you're going to see a bump in those season tickets. I'm fine paying my season ticket first payment early. I'll pay it in July. You just signed mid-season extension for one of these two guys. And then that guy's going to play with a little less, angst. And the other guy's going to play with a little, wait. How come he's getting paid? He's doing a little bit better than me. Like, maybe a little motivation, maybe a little competition, and it might push this team to where they should be and not where they are right now.
Yeah, and I'll take, a similar stance, but not exactly the same. So first off, I don't think it necessarily says, hey, we are selling our big pieces at the trade deadline. I look at this as sketchy insurance, right? In case things don't go well and we do end up needing to make moves at the trade deadline, it's not going to be good PR for us, right? In case we're selling, It's not good PR for us. And you're going to get pushback and maybe even some fans that cancel season tickets. So this is insurance for a case like that. Of course, hey, if the Blue Jays go on a run right now and they win 10 games in a row and they feel like they're really in the playoff picture, they're not going to sell at the trade deadline, right? I don't think their minds have been made up yet, but this definitely puts them in a position that they can be like, okay, let's collect our money now. I don't like it. My thing is, as Kratz always says, say it with your chest. If you're asking for money early, tell me why. Why are you asking? Obviously, if they called me, Kratz, I'd be a pain in the ass. Oh, sure, you need money early? Yeah, I want to renew, but tell me why you need it early. What's the problem? You guys running out of money? Like, just give me the explanation of why it changed. Like, is there a new law that says you have to collect your 2025 first payment in July, whatever, like months and months early? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I just don't like it. It's bad PR. People picked up on it. And lastly, I don't even necessarily think that Vladdy or Bo will be traded, right? Even if they just sell, a piece or two that's going to be a free agent, it's just still not a good look because this looked like such a promising window for the team. So it would be looked at as a failure and fans would be pissed. And that's how baseball works. So you need to not do this. It's no matter what, they already sent a bad PR message by doing this. The amount of money that you think you're going to gain from doing this does not outweigh the bad PR of making a switch like this when the team is not playing that well.
And their stretch coming up here before the All-Star break. Oh, talk about a kick in the crotch. They have Cleveland and the Yankees, and then Cleveland and the Yankees. They mix in a Boston, who's not playing awful. They're just kind of a middling team also. And then they mix in a Houston, and then they mix in Seattle. Woof. Lots going to be shown if these are paper tigers or the Blue Jays from the north.
All right, let's move on here. But we got a little locks to do. Bring in the line. All right, first off, BetMGM free game of the day streaming on the BetMGM app. We got Royals Dodgers on Friday, Tigers and Astros on Saturday, Reds and Brewers on Sunday. Live stream available to all BetMGM customers who are logged in and have funded accounts. And we won't spend too much time previewing these right now because we're running a little low on time. So let's get right to locks. It's been weird for me, Kratz, to sit out on locks. And
you were hot.
Yeah, I was hot. And yesterday, actually, what was it, 2 days ago? The whole crew nailed their picks. It was either 2 or 3 days ago. The crew went 4 for 4 in the FT fan. 3 days ago. Okay.
3 days ago.
So yesterday.
Till Claude jumped in and she lost 2, so she ruined that for the crew. But that's okay.
Right.
And yesterday we kind of got screwed with the whole Mariners thing. We thought Luis Castillo was pitching, and they did a little switcheroo and gave us Emerson Hancock. It was still a good game. But lost it.
Yeah, and Crochet was a dude, which we talked about for a little bit. Okay, so Cam, I'm going to let you lead off if you want. You want to start adding up or adding on to your $10?
Let's add on to the money and get the people straight to the big dollars. And I'm going to lead this thing off with who I think will end up being the Cy Young Award winner in the AL this year, and Erik Skubal, facing a Astros team that does not punch very often, but he's going to show you just how good he is. I'm going over 5.5 strikeouts for minus 165. Scoobs will go in there and do his thing. Not saying they're going to get the dub because the Tigers' offense is atrocious, but Erik Skubal, a bright spot.
I like that. Any kind of punchies from Skubal. I like that. The line's since moved for you on the app, so you made a good call getting that. The line you make lines move. But I'm going to go Washington money line. They got Mackenzie Gore going up against the Tough Luck Marlins. Mackenzie Gore's only had one bad outing. It was 2 outings ago this year. He's just been a solid piece in that rotation, and they're gonna get the win. And how can I not pick Chris Sale Day? I don't care who Chris Sale's facing. I don't care if it's the Yankees. I don't care if it's the Phillies. I am riding Chris Sale Day. He just brings a different energy, and he's pitching really well.
There you go. And I'll follow with dropping 130 to win a hundo for the Orioles to beat the Phillies. I got to focus on the big weekend series. So I'll go Orioles taking game 1. They're at home they are hyped for this series. I know both sides are, but Philly's got the vets. I feel like for Baltimore, this is like the next phase of getting national attention in a regular season series. Everyone knows you're really good now. It's a really good litmus test for them. So I'll drop 130 to win a hundo. I like the pitching matchup for them. Bradish has been awesome. I don't think he's given up more than 2 earned runs in a start so far this year. He's been really strong against left-handed hitters, and that's the bread and butter for the Phils right now. It's Schwarber, Harper, of course. Stott's been good. Ranger Suarez last outing, 2 earned runs, 8 hits coming off that. Was that? Yeah, that was when was it? Is this the second start since the comebacker or the first? I'm trying to remember.
Second. He threw in London, so it was a break, right. But he threw in London and did great.
Yeah. So, but not as good against the Mets last time around. They were getting knocks off him. So, and then a couple other little notes. I mean, the Orioles coming off a loss. They still were hitting the baseball yesterday. They were 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. And Orioles love to attack first pitch. Ranger Suarez, actually, sometimes that's the game plan for people, is not letting them get ahead. So we'll see. I like the Orioles in a dub in night 1 here. So there's our locks. And now we move on to our home run picks as well. It's the MLB Grand Slam jackpot. Place $10 or more on a wager on any player to hit a home run on a weekend day, Friday included, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. If that player hits a Grand Slam on that day where you place the bet, you can win the $50,000 daily prize or a share of the prize with every other winning bettor. I'll go first. I'll pick from that game too. I got Adley Rutschman plus 825. I was looking at his stats with the bases loaded. He's a G, and I'm looking for a Grand Slam, right? Also plus 825. That's good money. I think Rutschman's kind of the rock. He's the guy that came through and kind of changed the tempo for them as a franchise. And I think in a series like this, bag's full, he could hit a granny for me and get me a little 50 Gs. What about you, Kratz?
I'm going Justin Turner tonight against Logan Allen. Logan Allen has been pitching okay, but he gives up some homers. So Justin Turner slowly starting to turn it around after a really, really rough stretch. Justin Turner plus 550 for a dinger tonight.
Cam?
Hey, it's on me. You know what? We talk about big series, and I'm going to go with the Yankees in Boston, and I'm going to stick with a guy. Look at this right here. 72 games against the Red Sox in his career. Giancarlo Stanton is batting .264 with 15 homers and 44 steaks. I'm going to go with Stanton to get on the board. The Yankees are swinging it right now. Stanton swinging the hot bat. Looking at Big G to go deep at Fenway.
I like it. We got 3 things to do before we finish here, so 1 minute each. Let's slap. All right, Kratz hats first. What's on the dome?
I mean, it's Father's Day weekend. It's Friday. Come on. Who doesn't like some bacon? And if you're going to have some bacon on the hat, you might as well have bacon for breakfast. Get that fried up for a whole Father's Day weekend. Little Saturday bacon, little Sunday bacon.
I've had bacon every morning on this trip, so it's an A for me right now.
I had bacon this morning. It was phenomenal. I had a BLT. It was awesome. I like where your head is.
There you go. All right, number 2. One super chat question that we didn't get to yesterday on Fair Territory from Pab, asking if a broadcaster can get in trouble for calling the Angels the Anaheim Angels instead of the LA Angels. I can try to help to answer this question. I mean, you can get in trouble for anything. Just look up Kevin Braun with the Orioles last year in Masson, right? Like, it's just up to a stooge of a boss if you have one. But also there's bosses for the most part that should be chill, especially if you just mess up saying that. If you're saying that consistently and your boss is telling you to stop saying that, then yeah, they're probably eventually going to let you go. So I guess there's context to it, but no, not if you just say it once. I mean, you can get away with saying something one time, a flub like that. I mean, even multiple times, right? Like, we say old team names, old ballpark names by accident, forget stuff. So no, I mean, it's generally not that strict. But again, there are a few bad eggs in our business where you have a bad boss and maybe they would get pissed about that. Fair? Okay. Lastly,
stooge of a boss. I love it. Stooge of a boss.
Yeah, there are, because there are still some in media, right, where you're like, yo, it's time.
Facts.
And you're too strict. Yeah, we all know. We've all had that. I had that for way too long, actually, with a dude that they eventually let go. Anyway, lastly, let's show this tweet from Mike Imanaga. And you're like, wait, Mike Imanaga? Shota has a brother? No, Shota Imanaga's locker in the Cubs clubhouse has a new name on it, Mike Imanaga 2. Why? Because that's his coffee name when he orders his cup of Joe, because he said it's easier than Shota. And 2, he said 2 just sounds cool. So he's Mike Imanaga 2, and he's just a nonstop soundbite, and I love him.
Munenori Kawasaki was the first one. Kawa, everybody knows Kawa. He is monkey never crump. That's it. That's Munenori. Munenori, you would go behind him in the line at the coffee shop, and he would get Michael on all of his coffees. Because he goes, they don't know Munenori. They'll never get that right. And he said, so I tell them, Michael Jordan. So every time he would order coffee, he would order it as Michael Jordan.
He was the best.
Yeah, good. That's good. Good way to not stand out or get anyone saying something back to you is to just say a very famous person. Kidding. But Cam, awesome having you on, man. AJ is back on Monday, so is Alana while I travel, and then I'm back on Tuesday. But Cam, welcome to the FT fam officially. We posted about it on our socials, and we're excited to have you for more of these.
Hey, enjoy the water, my brother.
I'll try. It's getting a little rowdy here. It's getting loud in the other rooms, though. I yell at everyone, but see y'all Tuesday for me, Monday for some of the FT fam with Kratz and AJ and Alana. Happy weekend, everyone.